We're starting Tov Kuf Tzadik. This is the main siman of Halachas Tekiah Shofar. The beginning is not the most important sif. The most important sif is probably sif Dalet and Hey. But we're going to do the whole thing. Kama Tekiah is chayev l'shmoa Rosh Hashanah. Teisha, you have to hear 9. Lefisha Nemar, it says in the pasuk Teruah, Bayovel u'Rosh Hashanah shalosh pa'amim chol Teruah pshuto lefaneh pshuto la'achareh. U'pi Shmuel lamdu shekol Teruah shel chodesh shvi echad heim. Ben Rosh Hashanah ben Yom Kippur shel Yovel. B'teisha Tekiah toiken kol achad mishneihem tarat v'tarat. Okay, you have to do a Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah. Now that is a general halacha. The problem is we don't know what a Teruah is. That's the problem. But the halacha is you have to blow 3 times Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah. Teruah is by Torah. This, which it says in the Torah, you have to blow a Teruah. Nistapik lanu imhi hayolala shanu karim Teruah. If it's that wailing which we call a Teruah, or yimash shanu karim shvarim, or what we call a shvarim. Or imhem shneim yachad, it's both together. Lefikach kedei lotzes yedei sofik tzor liskoat tashrat. That means Tekiah shvarim Teruah, Tekiah 3 times, tashrat Tekiah shvarim 3 times, v'tarat Tekiah Teruah Tekiah 3 times. So we already have increased the amount of Tekiyahs that we have to blow. Now, all right, so let's just see the Mishnah Berurah. Nistapik lanu, dimtagina Teruah yavava, it means wailing. Almadu kol she'adam she'mashmiya keshu boichel ma'alel, when he's crying and he's wailing. V'aydenon yom im zakadam hagoynech miliboy, he's sighing from his heart. Kederech hachole she'mashmiya kolos ketzarim kol achakol u'march behem ktsas v'u'kenikra goyneach. That's when he starts off with these sounds. Okay, and this we're not sure what it is, and that's how we do all these things. You have to do tashrat shalosh pa'amim sheni yaitz b'mashe kara tashrat the dibba kavos atara ashram l'chud v'kamavsik Teruah ben shvarim l'Tekiah achroina. This is a very important yesod. If a person puts a coal which doesn't belong there inside a seder of what you're blowing, if it's a sound of a shofar, so then it's mafsik. You have to hear a Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah, and if you put in a Tekiah and something else, either before or after the Teruah that you were blowing, that's halachically the right sound, then you would have messed it up. So therefore, if a person will blow Tekiah shvarim Teruah Tekiah, and the halacha would be that you need to have either Tekiah shvarim Tekiah or Tekiah Teruah Tekiah, the other one that you blew messes you up. You understand?
That's what we need to say there.
That's why you need to do it 3 times. You can't rely on saying where the Mishnah Berurah speaks about, which is a fascinating thing, at the end of the Tekiah of shvarim Teruah, right? Why do I have to have in the beginning of the next set a Tekiah? Because this is Mishnah Berurah's question. If shvarim Teruah is the right one, you had a Tekiah, the Tekiah will count as a Tekiah achroina, and you're good to go. And if it's not shvarim Teruah, it's just shvarim, so that one that you use for the end of the shvarim Teruah should be good to be used for the beginning of the shvarim. This is a question Mishnah Berurah asks, and his answer is because people will get mixed up. But his answer is that it works. Theoretically, it works. All right. All right. Sif Gimel. Yesh Amrim Shashir Tekiah Teruah. V'shir Teruah Shlosha Yevavos V'ayna Shlosha Koichos Ba'alma. Kolshu. 3 marginal sounds. Okay, that's how it has to be. V'hem Nikraim Timutim. Those are called sounds. You can't have each one of the shvarim be longer than 3 timrutim, because then it already this is a very serious problem, and here in Eretz Yisrael they take care of the problem. In this shul we take care of this problem. The way that we blow shvarim, we don't blow shvarim like they blow them in America. In America, they blow shvarim 2, 2, 2. That's how they blow them in America. Here, we blow shvarim hutu, 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 or 2, 2, 2. And the purpose of that is that cannot be so long. That the fact that you're making it out of 2 sounds regulates how long that sound will be. And you won't come for it being more than 3. That's the purpose. Okay, and
How do you get it to 2? You make each sound shorter.
that's stronger but shorter. Okay. 2. It's 2. 2, right? That's 2. I don't know what you want to call it.
Consider two sounds?
What?
Two.
No, that's how they blow in America.
That's America.
This one that goes up.
I heard the reverse from the rock.
No, as I said, that's how I said it. That that would be.
So 2 is America, and that's easier to make a mistake.
It's easier because you have to be in charge of the amount of time. I'll just tell you, the guy who used to blow shofar over here, Friedman, what's his name? Yitzhak Friedman, he was a trumpet player. And you tell him, blow it for 1.7 seconds. Mamash, he said he has in his brain, he has it figured out, and he can, adjust it. No, he just, it was.
The rhythm in your head.
Yeah, that's it, and he was able to do it exactly whatever I wanted. You just told him in advance, and he was able to do it. That's not the case with most people. Most people, you have to figure it out, and I'll just tell you, Rabbi Kotler, he would bang his finger to know what a temutim is. Different ways, different gedolim had different ways of measuring the amount of time that you need for a shvarim and a teruah. And
is there a representation actual time, like tenths of a second?
I'll just tell you the general rule. I would say a shvarim teruah is under 4 seconds. Both together. And the Tekiah has to be that length. Here in shul we have the Tekiyahs for the shvarim teruahs are 5 seconds. That's I try to have them 5 seconds, and it's for sure overkill. That's not. I'm over the amount that's far from the line of scrimmage, and I do that just to be 100% sure. And I would say it's probably like 3.5 seconds. That's all.
Yeah, so that means the Talmud is divided by 18 or something.
Yeah, well, it's 2. How long is that?
People do it faster.
I'll just tell you, from the big problems that I have here in this shul, anybody who's going to be here on Rosh Hashanah can check it out. There are people who complain that he doesn't blow 9. I make sure that the Baal Tekiah blows 12. Most people count, and they can't even count that there were 9.
I count them.
It's usually 12. He does well more than 9. But this is people don't. You have to develop a way of counting it.
There's some places they'll do a Teruah for like 15. I don't know if that's not a half stick or something.
No, you can do it as long as you want. It's we'll see. The Mishnah Berurah discusses that. But they're saying these are issues that are some issues. Okay.
Which firm you can't do more than 3?
We can. We'll see. That discusses in brisk they blow 4. And there's a whole mathematical equation why they do that.
Just which firm we're saying it has to be short.
No, we're going to see the Mishnah Berurah discusses el chatchila b'diavad. Okay. V'yesh amrei nachos shemhech b'shar ksas milvad shelo yarach yesu midai v'chei noagim. Okay. Now the problem is people don't want it to go over what we call 6. Okay, v'tzarich laharach b'tekiah shel tashrat yesu mishel tashat v'shel tashat yesu mish tarat, because each one the tekiah has to be as long as the piece in the middle, and being that a shvarim is longer than a Teruah, so the tekiah has to be longer.
Is longer?
What?
Has to be longer than a Teruah?
It is.
I thought each several was 3 tekiahs.
No, but it's a little bit longer. Miu imarach harbe b'chol tekiah ein lachos. You can make a tekiah as long as you want. She'ein lo shir lamala. V'chein b'Teruah yochol laharach bo kamo sheyirtze. You can make a Teruah as long as you want. V'chein im moisav al shlosha shvarim v'oisa arbo chamisha ein lachos. You can make your Teruahs more Teruahs than are necessary. Shvarim, I'm sorry. V'yesham sheshir yibah v'shlosha temutim. Not like we said Tisha, it's only Shalosh. V'shir Teruah shoshavos shem Tisha temutim. V'shir Tekiah gam kein Tisha temutim ka Teruah. V'lefi zeh ein lachos shemerach ksas b'shvarim v'tzarich la'arach b'tekiah shel tashrat k'shir shneim also temutim. U'mi shelo herach b'tekiah k'shir hazeh v'herach b'shvarim lo kayim mitzvah lo kamar v'lo kamar, because it's hard to disasser in the shiurim.
If he does 4 shvarim, but the tekiah is not as long?
No, if his tekiah is short and his shvarim is long, right? That's the problem. Okay.
How come the Tekiah Gedola in here is rarely long? The very, very last one sometimes only 12 seconds.
I'm just going to. There is no such thing as a Tekiah Gedola.
Okay.
That's the one with shvarim Teruah.
What?
The one with shvarim Teruah is the Tekiah Gedola.
Yeah, but the last one that's done, the only reason why it's done is so that people should know that you're finished.
I thought they do because it's after a Teruah and you still have to do the long one.
There's no difference between the first, the end of the first Teruah and the end of the last Teruah. There's no reason why it should be any longer. We just blow it longer. That's just like a simon, that's a symbolic thing, and there's no real reason that it's done all together.
I didn't do a Teruah.
A Teruah Gedola? Okay. Okay. I don't know. You ever buy the Kais on Rosh Hashanah?
I was there.
Okay. You beat me. I never did that. I'm not planning on it either. No.
It's very hard to be able to Shofar because they have 20 million going on.
Okay. Okay, we're going to do Sif Dalid, and this is the fascinating question. Shloisha shvarim tzarich lasoisam b'neshima achas. The 3 shvarims that you make, they have to be done in neshima achas. Avo shloisha shvarim b'Teruah d'tashrat yesh amr she'eino tzarich b'neshima achas v'hu shelo yisha v'afsaka yesu b'chidei neshima. You could blow shvarim Teruah right? Yes, it has to be less than the amount of neshima achas. Now, how long? That's what we do when we're doing shtei neshimas. But when we're not stepping, there's a shear of how long it can be. How long is kedei neshima? So I'm going to tell you the Mishnah Berurah on the next page says something fascinating at the end of Sifkat and Chaf Aleph, and this is the only real source that I know that discusses this, and it puts many people's minds to ease. Okay, how long is kedei neshima? Al kain. This is an eitzah from the Mishnah Berurah. Toiv sheyikra lefanav hamakre shvarim Teruah b'pamachas. You shouldn't say shvarim, have him blow shvarim, and then say Teruah and blow the next piece. Why? V'im yamtir Tekiah ad sheyikra akayr lefanav tevas Teruah. If he's going to wait, then olul ma'od. It's probable shaydei hefsek yesek kedei neshima. So this is very long, right?
Till the Makra says after he's
and then you blow, so then could be you'll be passing. Could be, okay? So anything less than that, that's called Neshima Achas. This is, I think, a very, very helpful Mishnah Berurah. It gives you an idea. I'll just say that how many breaths does the average person take in a minute?
Minute?
Yeah.
20, 15?
That's how.
Doctor says 12. 12 to 20.
Okay. So how long should Kedei Neshima be?
Then it should be,
Right? That's how long Kedei Neshima. That makes sense with what we're saying.
yeah.
What?
Neshima means inhale and exhale.
Chayra.
No, it means one.
Oh, it shouldn't be because exhale is when you're blowing. It should only be the
it's
inhale.
only in inhale. Neshima is inhale, not both.
I don't know, but I'm just saying the Kedei Neshima, even what we're talking about, if you're talking about if you do 20 a minute, right? It's still what?
3 seconds. It would be 3 seconds and 12 and 5 seconds.
Okay, so it's a considerable long time because way more than most people would imagine.
More than you think. When you hear Neshima, it's like,
Yeah.
1 second.
Now, the amount of Kedei Neshima is one thing, and then there's such a thing, if a person actually makes a Neshima, then it's called 2 Neshimas, even though it didn't have that amount of time. So what we do is we blow, and when we do Shtei Neshimas, we have the Tekiah actually breathe, and by doing so, we split it. The difference between Neshima Achas and Shtei Neshimas, I don't believe that the people in the tzibur could tell the difference.
We can tell that you take the breath.
I don't think so. If you're looking, but not if you're not looking.
Also, the way your makri is different.
I'm saying the blowing, you cannot tell the difference.
If he's good, I don't know.
Yeah, here the guy is good. Okay? At least in my opinion, he's good. What? Yeah, he's good. Okay. Spirit says he's good, okay? So we finally agree on something. Yeah, we had, I think, since I'm here, yeah, I think all of them were very good. Okay. Zion. Okay. Im tov betashrat va'acha shetaka shtei shvarim tov hiskil ariyah. You're in the middle of blowing shvarim, and then you put in a Teruah. Im niskar miyad yiska shever acher. If you remember right away, just correct yourself. V'im lo niskar ach shegomer ha-Teruah shehiskil bo v'tos lo yifsel ha-Tekiah rishon shetaka. You didn't lose the starting tequila. Halachos v'Tekiah shlosha shvarim u'mariyah v'Tekiah. Avolim ira b'tashat v'tarad hifsel ha-Tekiah rishona. So this is the important yesod of when do you lose the whole shura. If you put in a wrong sound, sometimes you could lose the shura and sometimes you can't. That's the subject over here which we're discussing. And this is something which actually happens. You know, I think that we've had that for instance, I had that the guy was blowing a shvarim, and it came out a Teruah. You know, he said, doo, doo, you know, it just came out like a small thing. Then you have a wrong sound. So the question is, what do you have? Do you have to go back to the Tekiah or not? Okay. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Shofar acher v'dai b'zeh v'lo hisid sidro. He didn't lose the whole from the Tekiah. Kivan shegam Teruah shaycha achshel l'shvarim sheshnei v'Teruah d'shrat. Since he's going at Tashrat, so bein the sound of Shvarim, bein the sound of Teruah belong in this set. So just because you blew it out of order doesn't make you lose the Tekiah. But if you be in the Shvarim or in the Teruah and you would do one of the other ones, then you would have a problem. Shemasi the davka shehoy b'neshima achas. Im lo hoy b'neshima achas tzarich lazol Tekiah. V'shalosh shvarim v'Teruah. V'yesh poiskim d'sfilei dafilu hoy b'neshima achas gam kein tzarich lazol Tekiah shalosh shvarim v'ligmar haseder. Kivan shal kaponim hifsik be'emtza hashvarim b'roi lochush l'chatchila lahachmer k'divreihem, and start over again. I'd like to say something. You know, sometimes I feel it's important to vent. You know, I do certain things sometimes in public, and people don't know why I'm doing it, so I would like to make it clear. If there is going to be something that al pi halacha, it's good, but there's an inyan to be machmer on it. It used to be, before I davened here, I davened in a different shul, that was the makri over there. It used to be that I did whatever Halachas said. The Mishnah Berurah said it's good. I didn't have them blow over at all, because it's good. Then, after about 7 or 8 years of being a makra like that, when I revisited the sugya in general, I came to a conclusion that the tzibur wants to be yotze all the shittas. So if I can halachically justify to have the guy blow over again, I'll have him blow over again. Not because I think that it has to be done, but if the tzibur would be happier that way, I'm trying to satisfy my client.
It's also good enough to do it.
Yeah, so that you have to know if you have the ability to do that. So sometimes you don't have a guy who's good enough to do it. You know, in this shul I never had that problem. The guy you could,
Most people get
flustered.
No, get a guy who could.
Okay, I'll just tell you, I didn't have that in all my life that I always had about the kid. That's very
When I
good.
was a kid, I remember in Shul, he's switching shofars in the middle, switching.
People, that's I've seen it all happen, and sometimes you're more lucky than others. That's all.
Switching shofars, I've seen switching guys in
Yeah.
The guy just tried all 3 or 4 shofars, he couldn't get his sound out, so he put someone else up.
Yeah. All right.
I think it's cold. That's cold feet.
Cool nose.
Yeah, right. That's
No, it happens when you make a mistake once, then you lose your.
It's like a Balkur. He was a really good Balkur. Once he makes a mistake, he kind of like.
Right. That's all. So these are things that.
You see that on Monday, Thursday, Monday. Everyone at home, when they pick up a shofar, they can blow perfectly. Sunday, Monday, Thursday, the guy's like, it's like, we forgot how to blow the shofar.
Okay.
It's brought in the part, right? That's it.
Okay. It's called Amos of the Tzibura. Okay.
Is it possible to be up to all the sheets?
I'll just tell you, Rabbi Shulei Diskin had somebody blowing for him the whole day. To be as many shittas as you can. I'll just tell you that my father, who was a Rav for about 60 years, he never davened in yeshiva. When he was a bacher, he used to daven in a shul. That's what he did, part of his, he was about kaira and he was about tefillah. And I would say like the last 3 or 4 years of his life, he was living by my sister in Lakewood. And in the shul over there, it was like a yeshivish shul. And after davening, they would blow the extra shittas. And my father, the first year that he was there, and after davening, he saw them blow all these shittas, he went over to the gabbai and said, "What's going on?" So the gabbai said, "We're doing other shittas." So my father very innocently said to him, Do you always do other shitas? Do you wear a Rabbeinu Tam tefillin? That's my father's response to him. So the Gabbai, it's not his fault. It's just, So the Gabbai said, this is the minig of the yeshivas. And that's all. That was the end of the conversation. I spoke to my father afterwards, and he asked me, is that really the minig in yeshivas? So I shared with him the following story that happened in Ponevezh. In Ponevezh, Rav Gershon Edelstein used to blow the shofar, and after davening, he would go down to the shir room and he would blow other shitas. One year, Rav Shach was walking down the stairs, and he hears Tekiah shofar, and he walks into the room and he sees Rav Gershon blowing, and he says to Rav Gershon, it wasn't enough to have the Samol here once today, you have to bring him again? That was the end. That was... but Gershon continued blowing. But it's saying what this idea... this is not... okay, there were some places they do some... Because in Lakewood they do it, that's all.
In almost all places, I think, they go off to the side. And,
in this shul we don't do it center stage either. All right, but from my perspective, it's bichlal not necessary. That's this is a mitzvah that some people feel that it's very important that they're mekayem it, kefi all the shitas, and if you can do that, fine. But
why is it not like as for people like also if it comes once and the mitzvah comes out like chametz and Pesach, like the mitzvah comes once a year, we're very
okay now.
Like a regular one.
There's truth to that, but the question is, what is driving this? This is a very important subject. What is driving a person? Now, I'll just tell you, how many people say over Kriya Shema after Rabbeinu Tam? Why don't you know takers? Well,
I do all 3 parts of the
okay. That's because you would do that if you're going to sleep early too, right?
Teruah though also was not Rabbeinu Tam.
What?
Even the yeshivish people, the Minhag Teruah was not Rabbeinu Tam.
I'll just tell you, from the things that have changed since I moved to Eretz Yisrael, you listen to the radio on Friday. Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is radio on Friday and
No, when they from 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Matai Shabbat Matchil, Matai Mashal, and they say Rabbeinu Tam. Yeah, okay, but some of them do. Even those who do. No, they do 2 times. Yeah, but there are many people who are makbid just for Shabbos. Some people are makbid. There's all different kinds of opinions. Okay.
Shofar blast. Isn't it also a cooler as well? Because I thought the halacha is you're not allowed to blow the shofar in Rosh Hashanah any more than necessary. So the people that are making the blast, they're assuming there's a possibility they're not Yod say that what we've done in the shul. So it's also, and if they are Yod say, then those blasts are really against the halacha.
That is true. And that's why there are those who say not to do it. But the bottom line is that that's called a reason. You want to be Yaitz another Shita, that's called a reason. That's not called a non-reason. I just would like to make something clear. In Halacha, not only the Vilna Gaon, even way later than that, there are many Rabbanim who were Talmidei Chachamim, were makbid on every shita that's brought down in the Beis Yosef. Even though the Machaber and Shulchan Aruch paskins like some of them, and the Ramah paskins like the same some, any opinion which is brought down in the Beis Yosef, they were machmer on. Now, what is that?
If you do it with food, you almost can't eat anything.
I'm saying that people are waiting to eat.
But how do they survive?
What?
How do they survive?
You eat bread. Eat bread.
Can you find bread according to all the shittas?
I think you can eat bread according to all shittas, yeah.
Challah might be a little more.
Oh, but flesheks certainly going to be a problem.
Okay, well, really, you could eat. I'm just saying that these are, and now that's called already a shita, right? Now there are some people who machmir even more than that, but Reb Shulei Diskin was any opinion that it's brought down in Beis Yosef was machmir, and he's well after the Vilna Gaon. That's 100 years later, and this is that's called a reason. Now I say sometimes somebody would ask me, should they do this? I would say, and I'm going to just use a personal example. Sometimes people ask me a shayla, whatever it is, if you could eat this item. And I tell them, yes, you could eat it. And then they ask you the following question, would you eat it? Now, I tell them, when you do everything else that I do, then I'll answer that question if I would eat it or not. You understand? As a person does things, it's in a context. There are certain, and this is true in halachic areas, in many places. Just, I'll give you an example of this. As of now, if you will go to my sukkah in Yerushalayim, you will see that there's two different kinds of schach. There's some parts of my sukkah that have bamboo with green leaves on top of them. The bamboo itself is by far enough to be eitzah, and I have green leaves on top of them. And the rest of my schach has mats. Okay? Now, if somebody were to ask me if you could use a mat for schach, I would say 100%. I have no problem. You can 100%. Now, so you want to know why is it that I have the bamboo? There are halachic reasons why I have it, but I don't think that it's a halacha. That's for everybody, and this is something which is very important. I'm just using that as an example, and these are things that they're chumras. Not every chumrah is a chumrah for everybody, and not even every chumrah is a chumrah for the same person all the time. This a person has to know where he is. I'll just share with you a idea where this was relevant to my father's life. My father never carried in an Eruv. At the end of my mother's life, she was not able to walk. He would push her in a wheel carriage, in a wheelchair. Yeah, and not only that, he himself, for other things at the end of his life, he was more makel than he was when I was growing up. And this has to do with, a person has to realize the sach hakol expense involved. I'll just give you another example that I had from my father. I grew up in a home that there was no meat or chicken that was brought into the house that my father wasn't there by the shechita. It was there and he checked it. Everything was... Now... my father didn't eat in restaurants. All of these things which are 100% mutter, he didn't do that. He ate at home, and that was the end. At the end of my mother's life, she was in some kind of a, I don't know what you call it, no, not a hospice, care, and I asked my father, what are you going to do for the Seder? He says, I'm going to eat what they serve. So I asked my father, did you go into the kitchen to check it out? So he said, no. I said, why not? He said, it has a good hechsher. I said, but all the chumras that you have, he said, that's not available now. That's all, So you could, that's called you're serving Hashem, because the situation demands one way, then you do it that way. The situation demands something else. This is a very important concept in all of a person's avodas Hashem. What was yesterday, I'll just tell you from the Briskerov, this idea. The Briskerov was the first year of the Second World War. He was in Vilna for Pesach. And there are actually two versions of this story. There's a version said by Rabbi Soloveitchik from Boston, and there's a version said by the Soloveitchiks from Yerushalayim. But the basic story is the same. The sugar had some kind of a shaila, and the Briskerov did not want to use the sugar on Pesach. So he told his son Rebberel to procure for him sugar. So he had a very big family, and he got 2 or 3 kilo of sugar for all of Pesach, which is a very small amount. And on Chol HaMoed, the Briskerov told Rebberel, it's Chol HaMoed, you have to be Kal Pnei Rabbi, we're going to go to Reb Chaim Oizer to visit Reb Chaim Oizer. They go into Reb Chaim Oizer's house, and Reb Chaim Oizer says to the Briskerov, could I offer you a tea? So Briskerov says, yes, I'll take a tea. So he says, sugar? So he says, for sure. And Rebberel is watching his father drink the tea with this non-Pesach thing of sugar in it. And he's, very distraught. When they left, so Rebberel asked the Briskerov, what happened to your chumrah? So he said, when you're by Reb Chaim Oizer in his house, the chumrah is to eat the sugar. Okay? Now, he could have said, I don't want a tea. He didn't have to, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that if you're going to say you want a tea, they're going to say, do you want sugar, right? So he could have avoided this whole problem. But no, that's a person has to know that that a chumrah has its place. And that's a very important idea for people to be aware of. Okay?
In all these cases, sin of us father as well. Those chumras he took them on an idea of bleeding it out, otherwise don't we become like complicated?
Yeah, I would say that all chumras that my father did, he did believe at her. And not only that, I'll just share with you something which is a question I get asked. When I was a bocher, I would write home. This is before they paid you to make phone calls.
Did you get it home?
A thing called the aerogram. I don't know if you know what that is. Okay? And I would write home. If there was ever a spelling mistake in the letter that I wrote to my father, when I would get back a letter, the word that was misspelled, he wrote the word that was misspelled, how I wrote it, and the proper spelling so that I should get it right. That was, this was part of the chinuch that I had, one of the subjects which went through one of these letters is I sent him one time money for tzedakah, and I told him this is meiser money and it should go to this and this tzedakah. My father wrote me back in the next letter, we are makpid to say meiser bli neder. We don't say chiyuv meiser, we say meiser bli neder. So I asked him, where's the source for that? So as he did many times, he said, go figure it out yourself. And this was, I had to do research this. It's a very big machlokes if the chiyuv of meiser is a minig or it's a din. And how you say it. This is everything was very exact. That's how I was brought up, and it worked to a certain extent. That we're careful. Okay, and this is something which I tell people all the time. If you give meiser, you should say giving meiser b'li neder. And not only that, there are many questions in Hilchos Meiser, and it depends how the person was makabel to give Meiser as to what the halacha would be. Okay. Im hifsik betruah bein Tekiah l'shvarim, or shehifsik b'shvarim bein Teruah l'Tekiah, v'chein im heriya shtei Teruah zu achar zeh, or shetaka achar Teruah Tekiah, kimisasek shelo l'shem Tekiah, v'hifsik bein Teruah l'Tekiah, or la'achar shetaka shalosh shvarim shosak, v'hifsik v'achar toka shvarim acherim, afilu shavar echad, b'kol eila have a hefsik, v'hifsid gam Tekiah rishona. You lost the whole row, and you have to do over the whole row because you had some kind of a hefsik, whether it's in a sound or in quietness, which breaks up that which you did. Okay. Im toka shnei tashrat or shnei tashat or shnei tarat kohoigen v'to bashlishi, and the last one you didn't do properly, ein tzorach lachzor elo la'achron shetobo, because you're missing some of the same kind. It's not you put in a different kind of a sound, you're just missing a sound.
If you miss the line, you don't have to go back to the previous
No, I didn't say that. If you did 2 shvarims and you stopped, you could just fill in. Right, okay. V'im taka b'tzad harochov shel ha-shofar lo yotza. V'achar shetaka omer shech posek asher yodei Teruah v'ashrei u'machzir ha-sefer Torah l'mekoymai. Okay, this is, let's just see this last Mishnah Berurah. Lo yotza. Says V'afar the shofar k'tuv v'kilu chazal d'roitzu leimar derech havarosa k'leimar b'derech tmuras gidulo sha'ayim aviro mechayim b'roisha kach tzach l'Tekiah, from the thin side to the fat side. Okay? Remember the door where it says min ha-meitzar karasiko, you're supposed to call out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu from the meitzar, which means the smaller, the narrower side of the shofar.